Hi, welcome back. So we're at the outline to discuss a feature called the property decorator. This is a very handy feature. I believe that if you practice to use it, you will get a lot of tasks easier to implement. Now, basically, I have created the ordinary class as usually, my class, and then the dunder in it. However, I added this time a new instance. I call it the Z, and this is just as simple as returning the sum of the two instances of X and Y. Now, as I create an instance var1, print here just only the self dot z, which is I expected to return the sum of the two values that I have assigned to the instance variable. The result of 7. If I would have to change, for example, the value of x after I instantiate the class. Now, if I would have to print again the z, in this case, I expect to get 100. However, watch carefully what happened. I will still get the exact same result as I instantiated the class. And the reason is that z is considering the exact value that instantiating the value of x when I created the class. Any amendment afterward is not going to be accountable for. So to this end, you might think, okay, instead of doing that, I might create a function. I would call it a z function, for example. And basically what it does, return a z value. Now, if I would have to run this, I will get the value as follows. Make the return of the sum. However, I can't see it because this is a method between two brackets, empty brackets, because this is a method now. Now, if I run this, I will get the result as expected by getting the new value of 100. However, this is not a very practical thing to do because if I would have a lot of lines using the z instant variable, I have to amend all of them by adding these two brackets. This is where the job of something called property decorator, and it goes as simple as adding property decorator just like so. And basically what it does, it helped me not to care about amending the z value at the end, as if z actually is an instant variable. So you get a result as is expected. Let me add one more task to you to think about it. Imagine I would have defined a function. Okay, I will call it, for example, vars val function. Okay, and basically what it does, return a string just like so. Print, I think the idea will be quite clear to you by returning the value of x and the value of y. However, if I want to do the exact same thing like I did with the z here, by not caring about adding these two brackets, come here and add a property. But what I want to do actually, I want to do something like this. A var1 dot the vars value, two values of x and y, as if I am making amendment to the essential instant I created of 20 and 50, and I want to create completely a new value. Now, if I want to do this task, print and see what error we're going to run into, we can't set attribute. So it consider this as an attribute and you are setting a value and it's not going to happen. Although the first problem of getting rid of this bracket might be solved by adding the property, but here we're still unable to interact with this function as an attribute where we can set a value. And that is where the job of called the setter and the getter. Now, basically the idea is by getting the same name exactly as it is, dot setter, and that means I'm going to create now a function, and this function is going to set the value as expected. Now basically I'm going to define a function and it will take the exact same name as it is. However, this time I'm going to take self and is going to take, for example, a list, and then basically what it's going to do x and set the value to this instant variable to be equal to the list var, for example, the first entry, and self dot y is going to be equal to the list var of 1, something like that. Getting to interact directly with the vars val and changing the values of the instant variable that I have created when I instantiated the vars1, it becomes possible. And if I run this code, actually, I get the value of x is equal to 80 and the value of y is equal to 70. At the same time, actually, I can utilize another decorator called the deleter. And basically, it's not going to do anything besides just only get to set the self.x is equal to none. For example, here I would say I would like to delete var1 just like so. They have been assigned to none. Next thing, we're going to be talking about something called the method and class decorator. I will see you then.